this is Brandon from WatchesOnYou. Today we're back at Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, taking a look at the new Breitling Navitimer 8 B01 Chronograph 43. And we recently reviewed the non-in-house version of this, which has the caliber 16 movement, which is of course again, it's not in-house, it's an ETA based. So this is slightly different than that. The dial numerals are basically the same, the size is the same, they're both 43 millimeters, but of course, again, this is has the in-house caliber B01 movement as opposed to the ETA-based movement in this watch. So also, you can see the dial has the beautiful contrasting subdials on this in-house version, and I really like that. So now we'll dive into the rest of the aspects of this. And this watch is very similar to, again, the in-house version, which in its finishing, so you have mostly brushed surfaces with the exception of the bezel. On the other version, this bezel is brushed, and on this it's obviously polished. Also, the case back is a little bit different in that it is a clear case back, so you can see the beautifully finished in-house movement. And this movement it's finished kind of in a utilitarian fashion. There is Cote de Genève, but it kind of retains a lot of kind of factory finish, and that's fine. I mean, it's an in-house movement. They put a lot of effort in it. It is a column wheel chronograph. Also, the power reserve is impressive. It has a minimum of 70 hours of power reserve, which, I mean, frankly, it's probably 72, so perfect 3 days. That's fine, and I really like how they chose that as their cutoff because, I mean, 3 days is definitely above my 48-hour threshold for what I tend to prefer in my watches, so I think that's perfect. I really don't understand why ETA sometimes puts like 42 hours or 45 hours. I mean, how much more mainspring do you have to have in order to facilitate that? If you guys know why they do that, please leave a comment. I would definitely like to know because I have not really understood that for a long time now. So I'll get into kind of the other aspects of this watch. So one interesting thing about this is the bezel. It is a smoothly rotating bezel. It has a fairly similar action to the old Navitimers, but it is rather tight. You don't need to worry about knocking it. Even though it's smooth and there's no clicks, because it is, again, it's very tight. It'd be very difficult to do that. Furthermore, the coin edging is very smooth. It's not really sharp like on a Rolex, so it's not really going to get traction if you bump it or anything. So that's something to keep in mind. So I'll demonstrate the chronograph now. So to start the chronograph, you hit the top pusher and it moves around the dial. To stop, push it again. Same kind of traditional 7/750 procedure, then reset again using the bottom pusher, and the action feels very nice. It's a little bit smoother than the ETA based, which is to be expected. With regards to the other aspects of this watch, so I like the bracelet a lot. It has a polished center link and then brushed sides of the links, which is a little bit more humble than Breitling's traditional full polished Anthony Scaramucci style bracelet. And I quite like that. They're becoming a little bit more understated, which is great. And I think that will boost their pre-owned values because they become more of a classic design and don't really follow the trends as much. So that is a good... I think that's very important that they did that, as, again, it'll help retain their value. So the clasp is fairly similar to previous Breitlings in that it's a pressed metal clasp. It is very tight, and Breitling's pressed metal clasps are very robust. You have this on the actual clasp part itself. It's very thick. It's much thicker, again, than a traditional pressed metal clasp, and I really like that. So now I'll try it on for a wrist shot. Again, the diameter is 43 millimeters, which is, I mean, for a chronograph, it's a little bit large, but it's well within the range. I tend to, for chronographs, under 45 is pretty much fine with me, depending on the design language. And this watch looks kind of from afar like a 40 millimeter or so that's not really a problem with me. But just for comparison purposes, I have about a 6.5 inch wrist in circumference, so keep that in mind. If you like this video, please remember to subscribe and share. I'll be leaving links in the description if you want to learn more about this piece or inquire about purchasing it from Continental Diamond. Thank you.